All right, so you guys have been asking for this. Let's jump into some DeFi projects, the best for 2021. And of course, we've looked at a lot of different resources. We're going to dive into those today. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Today, we're going to look at DeFi. Decentralized finance is absolutely on fire. It is absolutely a tech that a lot of both investors, analysts, and also just technologists in general have really kind of not only adapted to, but also just really started to migrate to overall. And some of the projects that have kind of led out the way are some that we've covered here on the show before. We've covered Synthetix, which was one of our three today that I'm going to be talking about. And then at the end, I want to kind of just show you some of the data, then how that actually performed out over time, and why you should be watching more and more of our show here on TechPath and the Paul Barron Network. Let's jump into Trade the Chain and kind of look at where the DeFi market is. If you look at their spotlight version right here, the hottest on Twitter is usually where you're going to find these DeFi projects really surfacing. Of course, Synthetix continues to perform over there. We've done some great work on Compound, and then of course you see some KuCoin, a little bit on Bake, if you've seen that project, Orchid, OXT, another one that have really shown well. But Synthetix, of course, I still think is one of the poster children of DeFi this year. I want to jump to why DeFi is so important, and this is one of the stories from CoinDesk that kind of breaks it out in terms of where DeFi's potential can be and why it's so important to the ecosystem of blockchain in general. Switzerland's Signum Bank is launching custody and trading across a range of decentralized finance DeFi tokens. Aave, Aragon, Curve Maker, Synthetix, of course, Uniswap, another one, and then and 1inch Network. So this to me is kind of that. And if you look at where Switzerland has gone and is going, they are definitely one of the havens that has proven out to be one of the early adopters of how cryptocurrency potentially can go. It can go in terms of performance, potential opportunities, market maker capabilities. What are they going to be doing, meaning the country of Switzerland, around all of these kinds of DeFi projects that are really going to advance them? I think this is going to be something to watch very closely and one to really kind of keep an eye on. And I wanted to jump to the 1inch story. And this one right here was a piece, of course, by Cointelegraph, but they're launching a dollar peg stablecoin. This is the ICHI, ICHI. And the interesting thing around this, it basically said that it planned to mint a stablecoin with a blend of its native 1inch token and the USDC coin. So that in itself already very strong. All issuers on the ICHI began with prefix 1, referring to its Japanese namesake. It's aimed at providing a medium of exchange to pay operating expenses, provide liquidity, and distribute liquidity rewards. 1inch stablecoin can grow into an economic game changer. This is their CEO, who basically says at scale, its treasury can drive value back to the 1inch DeFi operations because it's minted and collateralized with 1inch tokens. So again, remember, it's getting both the internal collateralization and some USDC in there, which I think is going to be very interesting in making 1inch a continued, very interesting DeFi project as we move forward. The others that you have to look at in general is kind of what Cuban has been talking about for quite some time. And he's a big proponent of where DeFi is going, but basically he says, hey man, banks should be scared. Cryptocurrency and DeFi are definitely going to be in the game in terms of how they start to I won't say deregulate, not necessarily deregulate, but definitely dethrone, I should say, the traditional CeFi system, which is centralized finance. And that, of course, is coming from the banking systems that are out there. When you look at those kinds of players and innovators in both technology, because remember, Cuban he's a tech investor. He's a tech guy. So he can sit down at the table with a lot of these projects, and he knows when he's getting a scam. He knows when he's getting a startup that isn't really got anything to go on. Remember, that's what Shark Tank's all about. It's basically sifting out the scam startups. This happens in Silicon Valley, this happens on Wall Street, this happens in New York, down here in Miami. It doesn't matter if you're in cryptocurrency, if you're in plant-based technology, or you're in some other type of tech. Scams are out there, and the ability for these technology-forward thinkers like Mark Cuban to understand where this is going and be able to kind of move the chaff out of the way is very important. I think that's why we should be following more and more what Cuban is doing. So again, 1 inch, huge. Obviously, Synthetix is the other big winner here, and I think Synthetix has continued to prove that they are absolutely on fire. This is a good example of right here on CoinDesk. Synthetix rallies as DeFi protocol announces layer 2. And of course, again, it came back up. We saw a little bit of a dip, and then bam, Synthetix started to take off again. But some of these coins have kind of had this a little bit of a price move, meaning the DeFi coins. Compound was one that we saw over the past few weeks. And then, of course, Synthetix and its native token on the decentralized protocol Synthetix, of course, which allows market participants to trade Ethereum-based synthetic contracts linked to traditional financial assets. This is going to be interesting because it includes crude oil, things like Tesla, Facebook, Google, Coinbase, all those kind of things. But the Messari data on this was very interesting. Synthetix reached 1 month highs above $13 earlier today and was seen changing hands nearly hands near $12.90, up to 17% on the 24-hour basis. So that again, this token has gained 75% this month, while Bitcoin is down 2%. Again, this is one of those hot movers, and it's one I want to show you our chart on, because we actually did a Synthetix token analysis back in the early days of July and looked at that being a potential 2x. And sure enough, we were able to analyze that down, pull in the amplification, which was very on target, and sure enough, we saw Synthetix hit the 2x point. Let's jump over to Uniswap, because Uniswap is the other one that is really leading the way in terms of DeFi projects on the crypto sphere. And when you look at where Uniswap is going, this is interesting too, because they're seeing both a rise in the sentiment generally for DeFi for the second week in a row. Average 7-day moving crypto market sentiment score, the Cent score, and 10 major coins went from 4.87 recorded a week ago to 5.03. These are very interesting because we do a lot of sentiment analysis on this as well. Now, most of the time what we do is break these down by projects so it can get a little bit more granular into the project itself, work off of a whole layer of sentiment analysis, and then also layer in both speech IQ and also the amplification opportunity, which really starts to give us some price zones that are projected out in those. And so far, we've been able to hit fairly good accuracy with these, in essence of around 70 to 80% accuracy. We're trying to get our credential tuned in a little bit tighter, especially on the amplification numbers, but it is starting to show out. But anyway, it's been a good week. If you look at the overall, it's been quite a green week with a couple of significant increases. This goes back to the whole thing around Uniswap is leading. Double-digit increase of the list, 10%. The second highest rise is the Binance coin, of course. And then ETH was up 5%. Cardano, Litecoin went up about 4.5 and 4 respectively. And you can kind of see that move there on most of the bigger projects that are out there, including XRP up 4%. So shout out to the XRP army. As you guys always know, we get so much traffic from the XRP army. It's amazing. If you haven't checked out our XRP analysis, you should check that one out, because we are moving on that. There are some things happening. I know I'm promising another video on XRP, and we've got one coming very soon. Maybe this week we'll have a big surprise for all you XRP people. So make sure and stay tuned right here. Subscribe to the show, hit the like button, make sure and hit the bell so you can get notified when that content comes up. And of course, just to show off, we got to show off a little bit, let's take a look at our chart on Synthetix, because this is where we were looking at Synthetix back in early July, and our price zone was right in here around July 1st. And of course, it did 2x. If you look at the July 1st pricing, it was around 650. Synthetix is now hovering at, right now, trading at 1250. But its high point was 1365. Two price zones that we were able to predict, both by sentiment analysis and also by the amplification of where these zones were going. So we were able to get those in. Synthetix was definitely on the move there. We continue to analyze Synthetix because we do see this. Now, right now, I would say this, and again, just as a reminder, these market movers we do from time to time, we'll pull these together with both content, and we also bring together some data analysis like just what you looked at. But remember, it's not investment advice. This is our opinion. It's our own research. You can take it as education or entertainment, whichever you like. But I want you to go out and do your investment thesis on where this is going. What I will say, though, on Synthetix is I am putting a little bit of a caution marker on Synthetix right now. I am not really bullish on it moving beyond the $15 price point. If you are wanting to risk it out there in the $13 to $15 range, which is kind of where it's hovering right now, I would tread water very cautiously, because that one is I feel like at the top of where it could be, at least in the near future. Now, there are some moves that are happening with Synthetix, and I continue to get a lot of DMs from you guys out there, and thank you for those very much. We appreciate that. There are some moves happening, though, around Synthetix that are coming, and this could open up some more gains for Synthetix, but I would look for a little bit of a downturn for Synthetix in the near 2 to 4 week span. And from there, I think the big key is going to be what kind of project advancements we're going to see around Synthetix and what kind of partnerships, because that's, of course, is what drives a lot of these things, much like stock price drives these. But sentiment and amplification is a very big factor. So there are 3 DeFi projects. 1inch, you have to keep an eye on what's happening over there in the DeFi space, how 1inch is putting together a whole arrangement of both portfolio partners, but also key strategies, I think, with the implementation of their own token. And then you've got, of course, Synthetix right here that continues to outperform, and it's got some life left. It's just a matter of timing. And then, of course, Uniswap, who has done an unbelievable job. I think this project continues to surprise a lot of people and where it's moving. But the key here is the overall DeFi space. And whether you're looking at projects like Cardano, or maybe you're looking at Polygon, we've done videos on both of these. Polygon, Cardano, high flyers, definitely very confident in both of these. There are some things happening in the DeFi space that could shake up some scenarios here. We're getting a little bit of feedback now from our audience around some potentials around Cardano, and I want to try to do a video on this. I'd love to get Cardano on because there are some scenarios. And remember, when Cardano did their ICO, they did this in Japan. There was a reason for that. And if you understand how ICOs work, and we won't dive into it today, but it's very, very specific of how you create an ICO and the strategic rollout in Japan for Cardano because of the SEC rulings around securities and how all this is going, because it basically rolls back to what happened with XRP and is happening with XRP in terms of, is it a security or is it a commodity? Those kind of scenarios could play into this, and Cardano is kind of one of those on the bubble of where this might play. I have some data coming to us. We may even have a legal position and opinion coming to us very soon on Cardano. It will probably create a video that we're going to be doing. I'd love to get your feedback on if you know something around this. If you're in the legal side of cryptocurrency, which we've been getting a lot of attorneys reaching out to us and giving us some insights that really we're starting to look at to layer in both our data side of this, but also now from a legal standpoint, because there's some things that are starting to come up in the SEC case that are starting to reveal some strategies that the SEC is taking around really going after DeFi and some of these projects. And I think Cardano could be, along with Uniswap, could be in the crosshairs for this down the road, but not completely just yet. So let's pause for a moment, but remember, this is a key thing that we have to keep an eye on in terms of how strategically these projects roll out and whether or not the SEC continues its push in terms of regulation, and also I think control of how we go to market with these projects, because that's a big factor on where DeFi is going to be going in the future, because there's so many projects coming out, there's so many new projects coming out, and we're going to continue to do these best ofs from time to time here on the show, so make sure and stay tuned right here. If you're listening to us over on the podcast right now, the best thing you can do is give us some stars, If you're over on Spotify, just hit the follow button. If you're here on YouTube, make sure and just tap or, click and subscribe. And of course, share this video out to someone that you know that maybe is into tech, into crypto, into EVs, into AI, and where automation and technology is going in the future. It's the best thing you can do for TechPath and of course the Paul Barron Network. If you guys want to reach me directly, you can do so. I leave my DMs open for you, and it's actually paid off. On Twitter, @PaulBarron, just hit me up over there. If you have an idea for the show and you want to email it to us, it's producer@revernetworks.com. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.